All right, let's dive right into this explainer. And right out of the gate, we need to shift our perspective. Look, for senior executives, the AI honeymoon phase, it's officially over. Generative AI is no longer just this cool tactical tech experiment or some shiny toy for your developers to play with. We're talking about a fundamental, enterprise-wide restructuring mandate. The organizations that actually win this era aren't just out there buying licenses. No, they are ruthlessly cultivating an environment where AI drives massive operational leverage and fundamentally rewires how their business is executed.
And here is the stark reality of the situation. Industry averages, they're completely hiding a massive, chaotic variance in success right now. The data shows us a zero-sum game. For every single company seeing a 20-point jump in change confidence after adopting AI, there's another company out there suffering a 20-point drop. For every organization driving down its failure rate, another is watching theirs absolutely skyrocket. So success is absolutely not guaranteed just because you're paying for access. To make sure you end up on the winning side of that data, we're going to break this strategic mandate down into 6 core pillars today. We'll cover the executive AI mandate, capital allocation and ROI, architecture and competitive modes, enterprise governance and risk, workforce strategy, and finally, a concrete implementation execution roadmap.
Let's jump straight into Pillar 1, the executive AI mandate. Because as we just discussed, unstructured, free-for-all rollouts lead directly to inconsistent outcomes, widespread confusion, and honestly degraded code quality.
Okay, time for a reality check. The latest Dora research highlights some positive, but honestly surprisingly modest average gains. A 25% increase in AI adoption correlates with just a 7.5% bump in documentation quality, and roughly 3% gains in code quality and review speed. It's helpful, sure, but it is not the 10x developer myth that's been dominating the headlines. If you're building your operational leverage models assuming your engineering org will magically become 10 times faster overnight, well, those expectations need some aggressive recalibration.
And this perfectly illustrates exactly why banking on those industry averages is incredibly dangerous for a leadership team. When you map out the per-company change confidence, the variance is just staggering. You've got these massive spikes of success sitting right next to equally massive, terrifying dips. Without strict guardrails, targeted education, and a truly unified strategy, injecting AI into a complex system can literally make your engineering outcomes worse. It's like pouring gasoline on an unorganized fire.
Which brings us perfectly to our second pillar, capital allocation and ROI, because you simply can't manage what you don't measure. The core takeaway for this one, you have got to instantly abandon vanity metrics. Knowing your daily active users tells you absolutely nothing about your actual return on investment. You need a rigorous measurement framework, one that pits total AI spend directly against the net time gained per developer, while relentlessly monitoring core vitals like code maintainability. This is all about evaluating AI investments as long-term strategic assets. You have to focus on hard business metrics, cost reduction, time-to-market acceleration, risk-adjusted returns, to determine if your capital is actually yielding real operational leverage.
Next up, Pillar 3, architecture and competitive moats. Let's look at how top-tier organizations are moving way beyond basic productivity to build true, highly defensible moats. We need to strongly contrast the AI hype against enterprise reality here. Relying solely on generic API models for code generation, that is a low ROI money pit. True defensibility comes from integrating AI deeply into your proprietary enterprise data. Building custom data pipelines that feed your internal, highly specific context into these models, that is what secures your market position against competitors. As the famous business theorist Eli Goldratt noted, an hour saved on something that isn't your true organizational bottleneck is an hour wasted. For most mature enterprises, simply typing the code out was never the real constraint in the first place, right?
Look at how the industry giants are executing on this. Morgan Stanley is saving a staggering 280,000 hours annually by deploying AI to read and reverse engineer complex legacy code. FAIR is automating 3,000 pull request code reviews every single week just to unblock their senior engineers. Spotify, they're using AI for real-time incident triage and runbook suggestions. These companies aren't just writing code faster, they are aiming AI squarely at their most painful, specific organizational constraints to create compounding enterprise value. Now, with those incredibly powerful capabilities in play, we must move to Pillar 4, enterprise governance and risk. It's time to frame compliance as a growth enabler rather than a bureaucratic roadblock.
Here's a brilliant tactical example of this: manipulating a model's temperature settings to manage corporate risk.
For production code or compliance documentation, where hallucination and IP exposure are just completely unacceptable, you lock that temperature down to 0.1. That gives you highly deterministic, repeatable results. Conversely, dial it up to 0.9 to allow for creative variation during the ideation phase. Understanding these simple toggles gives your legal and security teams confidence. It proves that corporate accountability and data privacy are actually baked into your operational workflow, not just bolted on as an afterthought.
But listen, none of this architecture or governance matters without the right talent integration. So, let's explore Pillar 5, Workforce Strategy and Redesign.
The single greatest barrier to AI adoption isn't technical at all, it's fear. Executives have got to explicitly frame AI as a force multiplier, not a headcount replacement. Google's landmark project Aristotle proved years ago that psychological safety is the absolute strongest predictor of team success. If your engineers fear that AI is going to displace them, innovation will stall entirely. Top-tier leadership must reshape operations by hyper-focusing on talent retention and workforce upskilling. You have to foster a culture where teams feel genuinely safe to experiment, to fail, and to evolve alongside these tools, seamlessly integrating automated workflows with irreplaceable human judgment.
Finally, bringing it all together with Pillar 6, the Implementation Execution Roadmap. Let's consolidate this into a concrete, strategic action plan that you can hand directly to your VP of Engineering tomorrow morning.
This phased approach guarantees deliberate, calculated movement. Your first 90 days, months 1 through 3, these are purely foundational. You're defining the vision, securing total leadership alignment, and locking in that measurement framework we talked about. Months 4 through 9, you pivot to enablement. This means carefully selecting and launching data-driven pilots aimed at your real organizational bottlenecks. And then from month 10 onward, you scale. You optimize your deployments based on continuous real-world feedback loops and those scaling parameters you defined back in the pilot phase. Ultimately, success here requires a highly deliberate strategy to cultivate human and machine coevolution. It's just not about flipping a switch and hoping for the best, which leaves us with this one critical question for your leadership team to chew on. Are you merely adopting AI as a shiny new tool, or are you truly leading your organization into an AI-native future?